Good afternoon, folks. This is Robert Chappell, Executive Editor of Madison365 with your daily update for today, Monday, April 26th. First order of business is to let you know that it is once again Metcalf's Monday, which means the update today is brought to you by Metcalf's Markets. Metcalf's is a fourth generation family owned and operated market with stores in Madison, at Hilldale, and behind West Town Mall, and in Wauwatosa at 68th and State. If you want to get to know Wisconsin cheese, and who doesn't, Metcalf's is a great place to start. Lots and lots of Wisconsin cheeses to choose from a friendly team who knows what they're talking about and will help you find exactly what you're looking for. And because we still got a pandemic going on, you can order your groceries online for pickup or delivery anytime at shopmetcalfs.com. Also today, supporting the update is the Just Research Program. This is a program at the University of Wisconsin that is seeking Black adults age 40 and older to take a brief online survey, a 10-minute survey, to ask you what kind of health studies you would participate in. The reason they're asking that is that often Black people, people of color generally, are left out of clinical trials so that medicines, therapies, treatments for diseases, even diseases that disproportionately affect Black people, all those treatments are tested on white people, right? So they're trying to get more Black folks to participate in clinical trials, and they're just asking you what would help you do that. What kind of health trials would you actually participate in, understanding that there's a good reason for Black folks not to necessarily trust clinical trials, right? So it's a genuine effort to try to get information and change the way things are done. So if you're interested in that and helping out, call the number on your screen, or go to that. Just shoot an email to that email address. All right. To the coronavirus news. First of all, I did get my second shot on Friday after the show. I was fine. I was fine. I was really tired and sore and like achy Saturday afternoon. Like even Saturday morning, I was a little bit sluggish, but it was fine. Like I took my kid to a soccer game and stuff. And kind of lunchtime, I kind of conked out for the rest of the day and sat in bed and watched soccer until about 9 o'clock at night. And by Sunday afternoon, I was out hiking in the woods. So really piece of cake, and highly recommend it to all my friends. It was a good experience. I don't know, it was a good experience, but it's good to be fully vaccinated. Now I got to wait my 2 weeks, and then I'll be, in good shape. So problem, though, is that we are now down to 42,000 vaccine doses administered per day. We peaked at like 63,000 a couple weeks ago. So, we are now at 31.4% of the population has been vaccinated fully, has gotten both shots. We have to get that to 80%. And we can do it by July 4th. Like we have enough vaccine supply to do it, but y'all got to get it, right? There's a lot of people who literally can't get to a clinic, or who don't know how, or have language barriers, or who can't take a day off of work, or who can't do like I did and just drop everything, go get the first shot, and then schedule the second shot for a convenient time at a Friday afternoon so that I can take the day off on Saturday. That's a lot of privilege in how I got the vaccine. A lot of privilege. Not everybody has that privilege. So a lot of folks who have those barriers are waiting for that Johnson & Johnson shot, which, by the way, Johnson & Johnson is ramping up again. So if you're like me and have the privilege where it's an inconvenience, you got to go do it. Don't wait your turn. Don't be like, oh, I'll let other people get it first. No, stop making excuses. Just get it done. Because we have to get that to 80%. And every person who gets it is one tiny fraction of 1% toward that 80%. Right? I'm urging you to get it done. It's safe. It's effective. We are participating in the statewide effort to get information and make it more accessible and easier to get for those communities of color, for those marginalized communities who have those barriers. While we're doing that, all of you folks who can get it relatively easily, you got to go get it. And I understand why people aren't. It's just it's inconvenient. It's like, yeah, we'll get there when we can. I'm busy. It's nice out, you know, but it's kind of like civic duty at this point to get it done. Okay. All right. Enough preaching. Let's talk about the numbers though. The actual COVID spread numbers. Remember, toward the end of last week, they were getting better, and they continue to do so over the weekend. So we're now down to, well, over the weekend, we got down to, we stayed at 3.1% positive test rate, right? I've been preaching every day. We got to get below 3.0. So we got all the way down to 3.1 and kind of stuck there for 3 days. Today we're at 3.2. I'm not terribly concerned that, a 1/10 of 1% increase is not really a meaningful increase. It's more like we're sort of hovering just above 3. Okay, so we want to turn that around and get it under 3. Still, though, it's good that we haven't started to go back up really yet. We do see, I'm looking at about 1,200 new cases over the past 3 days, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. So 367 just today, which is kind of parallel, last Monday, if you compare Monday to Monday, at 373 last Monday. So almost exactly the same number. Almost a very similar number of tests. Also 3,200 tests today, 367 of them positive. That's not bad, actually, right? 7-day average of new cases, 603, which is down considerably. It was over 800 not too long ago. We also reported Friday and Saturday, we reported higher numbers of deaths. But I'm just looking at the data the way it's shaking out, I'm reasonably certain these are older fatalities that took place months ago and are just now getting fully confirmed. So we reported 13 deaths on Friday, which I told you, 19 on Saturday. Then one actually reported -1 fatalities on Sunday, meaning there was one that was corrected out of the data and no more were added. And then a big fat 0 today. So no fatalities reported today. That's great. Our average number of deaths is now up to 7 per day. But again, that's number of deaths reported. That's not number of deaths that happened. And I'm fairly certain that those 31 deaths reported Friday and Saturday didn't happen recently. Not in the last week, anyway. Those are from months earlier. So that's all pretty good news for the most part on the coronavirus front. However, I want to caution you. It's very nice out. There was a big old Mifflin Street block party on Saturday in downtown Madison. It was outdoors, but it was also indoors in those houses on Mifflin Street. And it was very tightly packed and very few masks were happening. The only people wearing masks that I could see were the police, who were also playing beer pong with the white kids. So great. So I'm a little concerned about that. I'm a little concerned we're going to continue to let our guard down because everything's fine now, just like it was last June. Everything was fine. We all let our guard down, and things went crazy as we ramped up into the fall. Until the vaccines get to 80%, the rest of us have to stay vigilant. We have to keep our masks on. We have to keep our distance. I'm going to continue to wear my mask. Even after 2 weeks, I'm going to continue to mask up. First of all, just as a signal, but also, I don't know for sure if I'm immune. It's possible, maybe not super likely, but possible that I could breathe in some virus and breathe it back out on somebody, and it doesn't hurt me, but I could carry it around. You know what I mean? So I don't want to take that chance. I don't want to be that guy that's like, oh, I'm vaccinated, And I would encourage everybody to continue to avoid big gatherings, keep your distance, keep your masks on, okay? Because we have to do this ourselves. Like, the government's doing a lot to help to push vaccines, but our government, in terms of masking and protective measures, completely abandoned us. right? So we're in it. We got to do it. And we've been doing it for the past couple of months. We got to keep doing it. Okay. All right. That is the coronavirus news. I'm going to mention one other local news thing before we take a little break, and then we'll do more local news. I'm going to mention a thing that we actually, Madison365 is doing on Thursday. Put this on your calendar. There's a Facebook event. So if you go to our Facebook page, wherever you're watching this, probably, you can find the event and respond to it if you want to. It's unprecedented, really, for Wisconsin to have 5 top law enforcement leaders who are all black. Calvin Barrett is the incoming. I'm going to just go through these left to right here. Calvin Barrett is the incoming sheriff of Dane County. He actually officially starts May 8th, but he's basically started, being public in that role. Madison Police Chief Sean Barnes. The acting police chief of Milwaukee is Jeff Norman. The sheriff of Milwaukee County is Ernell Lucas. And the new police chief of Beloit is Andre Sales. Now, all these guys are relatively new in their positions. Ernell Lucas has been sheriff of Milwaukee County for, oh man, time is so distorted because of COVID, but I think a year or maybe it was 2 years that he got elected to that position. But I feel like it was only a year ago. I might be wrong. But anyway, all these other guys are new, like brand new, like months, like within the last couple of months, or even in some cases, weeks. And we are going to gather them all in one conversation. I would normally say in one room, but it's going to be a Zoom room. Okay. And our CEO, Henry Sanders, is going to kind of moderate this discussion, and he's not going to go easy on them necessarily. He's not going to try to be out to get him either. But it's going to be this frank questions about what is going on in policing and black people right now. Which is, I mean, it's not just right now. It's what's been happening for years, obviously. But we're going to get their reaction to the Derek Chauvin verdict. We're going to get their thoughts about policy changes. Do we need armed officers doing traffic stops? How do we change this sort of authoritarian attitude that a lot of police seem to have? Do we need, 3 officers to every traffic stop of a black person? That kind of thing. We're going to ask them about Dante Wright. We're going to ask them about Andrew Brown Jr. We'll ask them about Elijah Johnson. All those things. We're going to have an hour with them. These are very busy guys, so it's very good that we were able to find an hour with them, and they all said yes. So, and it's not pre-recorded. They've all agreed to do this live. So we're going to be taking questions. We'll be deleting, the hater comments. But we'll be taking questions from the audience. So tune in at our Facebook page Thursday at 2:30. I'll remind you again between now and then. But listen in. It should be a really enlightening conversation, I hope. And I'm dead serious. Bring your questions, and we'll see if we can get answers for them. So we'll have a little bit more news for you, a little bit more local news, and we'll talk about a little bit of national news as well right after this. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Here in the Midwest, community is important.
Having a healthcare system that's looking out for us,
That's actively addressing the racial disparities in healthcare is important.
When we can get good quality care,
We can do more. We can achieve more.
we can be the kind of community we want to be, and that's really important.
UW Health. Remarkable medicine. Remarkable care.
All right. One more note. We had Audrey Butler on the show last Friday, and I just but I just want to remind you, this is not a paid promotion. Like, this is legit news that he's got these 2 books out. There's an article on the front page of the website right now that I wrote up about this. That's got a link to where you can buy these books. It's very important that black kids see themselves in books. First of all, that's a thing. There's more children's books that feature animal characters than feature black characters. But also that black kids see themselves having academic success. and Ajamu Butler, who's the author of these books, knows that and has created these workbooks to help solve that problem. So the story is on the website right now on the front page. Also today, the Madison Mallards announced. If you watch the show, you know I'm a big. We cover a lot of Forward Madison, the football club, the soccer team. That same company also owns the Mallards, the baseball team, which I haven't talked about on the show much because they were off all of last season because of COVID. So they are now coming back strong. They're going to announce a total rebrand and a new logo and a new look and everything. They're going to have a big event on Saturday, May 1st. This is coming Saturday at the Duck Pond at Warner Park. 6 o'clock doors open. 6:30, they'll Maynard the Mallard will zip line in with his new uniform on, and then they'll unveil everything. And then at 7:05 or 7:10, they're going to show the movie The Sandlot, classic baseball movie. So that should be a fun event. We're going to have a reporter and a photographer there as well. So stop by the Duck Pond on Saturday. It is a free event, but RSVP is required so they can control the crowd size and everything. So again, if you go to the website Madison365.org, there's a link there to register. The Reverend Wright Award nominations are open now. I'm just going to pull this up. The Reverend C. Wright, the Reverend Wright Awards recognize people in Madison specifically who work for equal rights, racial justice, civil rights. I'm sorry, Reverend James C. Wright. And this is the City of Madison, the Madison Equal Opportunities Commission is seeking nominations. So if you know somebody who has worked specifically in this field, in racial justice, human rights, civil rights, nominations are due by Friday, May 21st. So you got a couple weeks. And in that story on our site today is a link to submit that information to nominate somebody for that award, which is quite prestigious. People in Madison take this award very seriously. Turning now to national news, if you watched the Oscars last night, you saw that Chadwick Boseman did not win Best Actor, as everybody thought he would. But Chloe Zhao becomes only the second woman ever to win Best Director and the first ever woman of color, woman of Asian descent, to win that award for Nomadland, which also went on to win Best Picture. So it wasn't quite the Oscar so white affair that it has been in the past, but Viola Davis and Chadwick Boseman were both robbed, many would say. Also in national news today, the city of Elizabeth City, North Carolina, has declared a state of emergency in anticipation of the release of body cam footage showing the killing of Andrew Brown Jr. He was a 42-year-old man who was shot and killed by sheriff's deputies, not city police, but sheriff's deputies, on Wednesday last week, 8:30 in the morning, the day after the Derek Chauvin verdict was announced, the day after Michaela Bryant was shot in Columbus, Ohio. He was initially, the sheriff said it was a search warrant, and then now it's become an arrest warrant. So I'm a little skeptical about the police's story here. Okay, I'm not a conspiracy theory person. I'm a journalist, so I don't believe people when they tell me things, and I specifically start to question you when your story changes. So when they were very clear in the press conferences, in front of national media, they said search warrant several times. It wasn't a slip of the tongue. They said search warrant several times, and now they're telling us it was an arrest warrant. Okay. He was shot in the back while he was driving away. Incidentally, somebody who was shooting at him shot a house. So the sheriff there, everything's been turned over to a state agency to investigate, and the sheriff there has asked the court to release the footage, the body cam footage. There was some talk this morning. I'm not sure how this panned out, but they were going to try to show it to Mr. Brown's family today, and then try to release it later in the day. As far as I know, that hasn't happened yet. But the city has still declared a state of emergency in anticipation of protests. So we'll keep you informed as that story develops in North Carolina. And in Louisville, Kentucky, United States Attorney General Merrick Garland today announced that the Justice Department will open an investigation into the policies and practices of the Louisville Police Department. Now, policies and practices investigation used to be common. Not really common. The Justice Department used to do about 3 every year, where they would take a deep dive into a local police department's policies and practices and make sure that they were acting in a way that was equitable toward the community. This is the second investigation. Basically, the Trump administration stopped doing those. So there have been none in the past several years. But this one is the second that Merrick Garland has announced in the last week. Last week, he announced that the Minneapolis Police Department would undergo this investigation, and now Louisville, a year after the death of Breonna Taylor, will undergo a federal policies and practices review. Investigation might be a strong word, more like a review, but still, it's happening. The United States Justice Department is looking into it. That is the news for today. I was down in the office today. I got outside for a little bit. It is a beautiful day. I hope you can get out and enjoy it. Appropriately distanced, please, with your masks on. But enjoy the evening. Tomorrow on the program, we'll be joined. You won't want to miss this. Tomorrow on the show, we will have Dr. Ernesto Rodriguez. He's an emergency room doctor. He's the medical director of the emergency department at Watertown Hospital. And I'm going to talk with him about his experience as an emergency room physician during COVID, as well as his thoughts about vaccinations, how to get vaccinated, and who should, and why you should. We'll have that tomorrow for you. Appreciate your attention today. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll talk to you soon.
This is 365 Media.